In many cases, because there are different skills required in starting businesses compared to running an established business. An established business already has customers who are used to the products and services being offered by the business, so the needs of the business are different. I have seen businesses fail because they tried to change the products being offered by the business. But a startup has loads of different issues, including, but not limited to, the product service is not proven. Until people actually pay for the products and/or services being offered, there is no guarantee that people will want them. There are no established customers. If I already like the coffee shop I go to, why should I go to a new establishment? No track record of sales, and therefore profit. It is harder to get funding if you cannot show that people are interested in your product service. This can limit how you grow the business. The marketing plan may or may not work. Again, you need customers to stop going to other businesses that sell a similar product service or be able to demonstrate that your product service fixes a need that people will have. No employees. As the business grows, you need to bring in new employees and come up with job titles and job descriptions, find employees, etc. As such, a startup business has a lot of issues that can change daily, if not hourly. While an established business already has employees, customers, products, services that people want, an established record of sales and hopefully profits to relay on and to use for funding, etc., which gives it an advantage but also means that the issues are different. A prime example is that with employees, you can relay on them to do some of the work and even to make or at least help with some of the decisions. You don't have to make all the decisions and do most, if not all, the work as you do with a startup. Also, many founders can't let go of the control over their business. They get the company up and running, but to get it to the next level requires someone who isn't tied to ownership. Yes, many CEOs own shares and have options to purchase them, but they aren't tied to owning a majority interest in the business, but rather making the company successful. And founders forget that there are ways of staying involved, and, in control, without owning most of the shares of the business, remaining the chairman of the board, having 2 classes of shares with varying amounts of votes per share, etc. But at the end of the day, it's like comparing apples and oranges. Both are fruits, but they are not the same thing. Founders often make great CEOs at the beginning. What I've seen more of is the inability or the pace at which founders scale their own ability as CEO. As the company grows, the job description of the CEO changes as well. The same is true for all executive positions in a company. Something I personally love is that at Shopify, every year the executives have to requalify for the position, and that includes the CEO. In the early stages, the CEO is a maker. As the company scales post-product market fit, the CEO is a manager. To quote Paul Graham of Y Combinator, it's the difference between the maker's schedule and the manager's schedule. Equally so, Ben Horowitz, the second name in the investment firm, Andreessen Horowitz, writes about peacetime and wartime CEOs. In the early days of a company, you're at war. You're fighting in a competitive market of attention. Not only from your customers, but also potential hires and investors. As your company scales past $100 million ARR, among any of the other heuristics, when you stop being a startup, you're now a category leader and possibly a market leader as well. And therefore, the job description of a leader born in an era of war is different from a leader born to maintain peace. When you're a small team of 5 or even 20, you're the product lead. You decide the direction in which the product will go, and you're involved in the day-to-day nuances of the product itself, from the UI/UX to talking to customers to discover pain points, etc. When the company grows to 50, give or take, you have already hired or are going to hire your first product manager, which means you won't be involved in the day-to-day anymore, but rather in the larger strategic directions of the company and the product. Most founding CEOs understand that their role will evolve over time, but unfortunately, many are still unable to keep up with the pace at which the company evolves. Effectively, CEOs have to always be one step ahead of the company's growth to prepare the infrastructure for the rest of the team to grow into. A founder, usually someone who's an inventor, which is a very different skill set from someone who can build an organization as CEO. Sometimes, the founder can develop the skills, or they already have them before they started their venture, but in most of the cases I know, the founder came up with a product solution to a problem, and that by itself doesn't qualify them for the role. An idea doesn't make someone a CEO. In most scenarios, they did not come in as a CEO. It's perfectly fine for the founder to run things when the company is tiny and everyone has multiple roles. It doesn't take long for the inventor mind to conflict with the needs as someone who's in a managerial role. They can get the company to a point where their personal limitations start to interfere with the needs of the company. Often they are better suited as CTO. I've met some founders who have become great CEOs outside of those who are well known to everyone. They typically have the foundational skills as a part of their character, and so they can both invent and manage at the same time. I meet far too many founders who are terrible at running a company and won't admit it. They resist help and bump along, never growing all that much. Even in cases where we get a founder to a different level, getting them to keep growing without help is another matter. Good founders see the needs of their organization and know when to move into a different role while still remaining involved as a valuable contributor.